So it was made, not official, but it was noted by @WrestleTix on Twitter, which is a pretty accurate account, that as of now, they have sold 74,000 tickets, I believe, for the All In show coming up at Wembley Stadium, like I mentioned. All In, end of August. Very impressive accomplishment, very impressive feat. We've talked a lot about this in recent months. How many seats can they fill? Can they fill the whole thing? Will they get even half? Again, they're a pretty accurate account as far as how many tickets are sold for this event. That's pretty good. So hearing that, your thoughts on that feat from AEW? I would ask if you believe it. I would assume so. Whether you do or don't, do you think they can sell this thing out with the show coming up in a month and a half, or do you think that where they are right now is kind of their ceiling?
It's down. It's like you said, a ton of tickets. It's crazy. But yeah. I don't think they've announced technically anything for the show. So I feel like depending on, the fact that you sold that many tickets before the show, even nothing's even been fucking announced. So I feel like I said before, it's just like a big happening, and people definitely want to be involved and stuff like that. But that's crazy that before anything's even that's what I think makes it so fluky. It's before anything's even announced, people are I'm going. You don't even know what the fuck's gonna happen. So I feel like that's what's kind of the craziest part to me. But I feel like once it's announced, you could definitely get more people depending on the buzz and stuff. But it is ridiculous because I feel like here they're struggling to sell at normal arenas with announced stuff, and they're just nothing's been announced, and they're just selling tickets like crazy.
Well, going off the other obvious point as we head into our Money in the Bank review here, we'll start off with this talking about Wembley Stadium. John Cena making a surprise appearance at the pay-per-view, kind of making it known, and it wasn't off the cuff, this was intentional by WWE, that they want WrestleMania in London. And I guess this was their way of kind of notifying officials in England and stuff like that, hey, listen, if you want WrestleMania, if you want a big show here in London beyond Money in the Bank, we're talking, SummerSlam would be nice, and they had SummerSlam there 30 years ago, great. We're talking WrestleMania, which is a completely different beast, their biggest pay-per-view of the year. They've never had WrestleMania overseas. The closest we've had outside of the United States was in Canada, and that's it. It's never been anywhere else but the US and Canada. But they want to have it in London. The crowd's rabid. I think the demand is there. The time difference was always a big thing. I'm sure I was asked about this years ago, and people would always say, because it starts at so late over there, they would never do that. A 3 o'clock WrestleMania at this point, who gives a shit? We get 3 o'clock pay-per-views multiple times a year at this point from all these different companies. I really don't think it would matter all that much at all. People would still watch the show at 3 o'clock on a Saturday, Sunday, especially if they're still on Peacock at that point. Again, people would still buy the show regardless. Just talking about that, do you think, and I'm going to say I do, I buy into the belief that this AEW thing, and I'm not putting on a tinfoil hat here, I just think it's pretty common sense, that AEW selling as well as they have for Wembley Stadium kind of made WWE realize, hey, not only can we bring a pay-per-view to Wembley, because I saw what people said, that Wembley bid for WWE last year, but Cardiff got it instead. Okay, Clash of the Castle is one thing. I'm not talking about that. I'm not saying Wembley has never wanted WWE, but wanting a pay-per-view there and then wanting WrestleMania there are two very different things. I honestly think that WWE wants to run Wembley because AEW is doing it and doing so successfully. Honestly, just so they can have the biggest attendance in that arena. Obviously not, outdoing SummerSlam 92, no shit. Wasn't it 90? I don't remember the exact attendance. I think it was around there. But regardless, I do think there was the AEW effect here and wanting WWE wanting to run Wembley again for a WrestleMania just to say they've had the biggest attendance ever in that stadium.
If I was them, I wouldn't even run Wembley specifically. But, I think it definitely, like you said, makes sense. Once they saw what happened in Cardiff, I feel like that, especially with what happened with the AEW, I feel like kind of put two and two together. They're the international market's hot, and might as well go there. If I was them, I'd go to the new Tottenham Hotspur Stadium they just built, in London. I don't know how many people it holds. It's fucking brand new, state-of-the-art facility. I don't know if they'll break the record. I don't think it holds that many people, but, Wembley is iconic, but it also is a lot older. Regardless, I think they will run one soon. But, yeah, I think it makes sense. Like I said, just based off the interest in Cardiff alone, I feel like it would make sense. And then on top of the AEW stuff, I feel like it's kind of a no-brainer.
Especially with the audience they had for Money in the Bank over the weekend. Now, I know it was only, 20,000? I know they said something like 37,000, but that wasn't for one arena. That was just, for the O2, it's that's like a regular That's where they hold Raw, I'm pretty sure, typically. I know they were there with SmackDown on Friday. That's not that it's never happened before. I'm pretty sure they've been to the O2 many times before for Raw and SmackDown's tape shows and whatever. It's not often they do a live pay-per-view from over there. I know they did TakeOver there about 10 years ago. That's really about it. They haven't had a lot of live shows over there since then, and just in general in the last 30 years. So, I don't know. I think it's definitely doable. I think the crowd demand is there if the AEW thing is any indication. And listen, AEW is a good product, but WWE is a bigger product, just in general. That's just a fact. So if AEW could pull in that many tickets for that show, now I know there's a difference too, because AEW's never been over there, so there is that demand. WWE's been to London, so I still think there'd be a demand for WrestleMania. As far as something is that something you would want to see? I mean, coming off the atmosphere with this crowd at Money in the Bank, which didn't just make the show because the show was great on its own, but the London audience really did add to it. I assume that's something that you would want to see personally as well, as much as I do.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I don't know if I want them to get WrestleMania, but they can get another show. I mean, WrestleMania is nice over here, so.
You don't want them to have, that's what I'm saying. You don't want them to have WrestleMania?
They can get Clash in the Castle or something. I don't know.
You're so selfish.
Sorry, it is the truth. I mean, so here's the thing. Their crowd's into it, but they can be fucking annoying. Like, they were a little bit annoying at Money in the Bank. Like, they're trying to, like, get... Like, I understand you want to be included, but, like, trying to take over the show is just stupid in my books. And Cena, like, fed into it. It's just... I get it. They're, like, a hostile crowd, but, like, when you're trying to make it all about you, it's just annoying, if you ask me.
Listen, I agree. I don't think they were... I wasn't bothered by the crowd of the pay-per-view. I'd rather have a rowdy crowd than a quiet crowd. But that being said, though, you did mention it, and I said this while I was watching that Cena-Waller segment, which I liked. I know you didn't like it as much. But Cena saying multiple times, you guys are the show, it's all about you. I'm like, let's not give these crowds too much credit. And that's coming from someone who has also gone to a lot of these shows and enjoys being there and whatnot. I think you run the risk when you give the crowd too much, I don't want to say freedom, but like if you shine the spotlight on them too much. That was the issue WWE ran with the post-WrestleMania crowds. And nowadays, people don't give a shit about those shows because the crowds aren't quiet. Listen, I'd rather have a tamer crowd than a crowd that is... Personally, I'm at a point now where I see the beach balls and I'm like, this is fucking dumb. I think that is very disrespectful, and, you know, people might not like that and whatever. I think it's silly. Especially if it's during a match where it's not even that bad, and people just throw it out there because they think it's the cool thing to do. WWE ran the issue of shining the spotlight a little. They did a whole fucking 24 documentary on the post-WrestleMania shows. So, beach balls, and John Cena would acknowledge it. The match after, I said Claudio, Cesaro was out there popping these beach balls. I mean, these crowds, I mean, I agree, though, that I think we got to stop, like the Rollins thing, you know, like with the Rollins and Balor segment, we got to stop giving them too much credit or attention. Otherwise, it gets out of hand.
No, yeah, I agree. I think, like you said, I'd rather a crowd be into it than, like, sitting on their hands, but, like, I also don't want them to, like, be to the point it's not, like, too much. Like, the whole Rollins, like, acknowledging him with the song, it's got to the point it's just annoying. I like Rollins, but the whole thing, to me, it's just, like, they get to hear him come out, and then, like, sits there for 20 minutes, and then the whole match they're doing it. It's just annoying. It comes to a point just annoying at that point. Yeah, no, it always gets to a certain point if it's not, and it's not complaining about everything either. I mean, I'm just saying, like, everything is good in, you know, with a happy medium. And I think with the Rollins thing specifically, him coming out, people singing the song, I'm not being a crusty curmudgeon here. I don't really care about that. I think it's cool. I like the song, whatever. He stands there, he lets him do it for another 5 minutes. Okay, I'm not a big fan of that, but, you know, it's fine. Not that big of a deal. Whatever, you know, it's not my cup of tea. I know Jericho does it too, whatever. When they start doing it during the match, that's when it bothers me, because it's like you're clearly not paying attention to the match. It's not a fucking soccer match. I mean, you're just being annoying at that point. So, you know, wrestling fans can be, and myself included, I get it. I mean, we're all included in this. But we can be a divisive bunch, so that's what I'm kind of worried about. But I am looking forward at some point to Mania being in London. Do you think it's likely, though? I mean, Mania's obviously headed to Philly for 40 next year. The report was that it's looking unlikely within WWE. I just don't know why you would do a segment like that if you knew internally that it's probably not going to happen. That just seems so silly to me. Why even do that segment? I mean, I think it's a possibility. I mean, like I said, I think it's a possibility. I mean, I don't know if it's going to happen this year, but I think it's a possibility. But, I mean, obviously, like I said, I don't really know exactly what their plans are, but I think it's possible.